All right, on her A Touch More podcast with her partner, Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird acknowledged that her interview with Diana Taurasi on the Scott Van Pelt Show was the first domino to fall in people taking the position that women in the league were hating on Caitlyn Clark. Now, she said the words were taken out of context, of course, and she also said that people with the most hateful things to say about any of the women in the league are not fans, but simply trolls. So, Samaria, last week you and I touched on this, but what should Caitlyn's role be in stopping negative comments aimed at her peers?
Yeah, I don't think that there's more that Caitlyn can do. I think that when she's been asked about it, she's condemned it. She says, I'm not for this. I don't like this. It doesn't make me feel good. And I think that's all that she can do. Shout out, though, to Sue Bird for actually coming out and acknowledging how something that she said may have spearheaded all of this. And then she also took the time to address us, the media, in our continuance of, you know, this narrative that is being spread that the WNBA or the women in the WNBA have been hating on Caitlyn Clark. I love that she talked about her rookie moments and how when she got in the league, people were checking her. You know, like that was a thing. Like they were more aggressive when the league was actually more aggressive back then. She talked about Charles Barkley, which I thought was a huge moment in all of this, where he got on his show and he said, okay, WNBA players, y'all get off Caitlyn Clark. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it was really great for Sue to come out and have this honest discussion with Megan and talk about all of the things. Like, she called out everybody. I love that she said, you know, it's not fans, it's trolls. And they talked about racism. They talked about racism. They talked about how racism has already been a thing. I know we talked about it last week where I said that I think that the level that we're seeing it is a little bit more heightened, which I still agree on that. But I love that you have two white women here talking about these matters. And I'm hoping, you know, I think they kept talking about, okay, well, what is going to what is going to have to happen for this to stop? I don't really know what we can do, but I do feel like them having this conversation like that was a first step. And I think that more WNBA players in like current and past should have these conversations just to let people know, okay, this is what really happens in the league. And it's all love. Like nobody's sitting here hating on anybody that comes in.
I think multiple things can be true. And one of the things that Sue Bird said was that Caitlyn Clark was not targeted when she entered the league, which I just don't think is true. And but it's also okay to be targeted. I remember I made this comparison before when Lonzo Ball first entered the league. That first game, Pat Beverly was picking him up full court and harassing the hell out of him. And there's nothing wrong with that. We want you to walk it like your father talked it in that instance. But for Caitlyn Clark, we want to see you walk it the way the media is talking about you. We want to see how what you bring to the table translates to our league. And you can. We see this with athletes who are a bit older, right? When the new crop of athletes come in and they get paid more money and they get more notoriety, more attention, and they're still in a position to contribute and be phenomenal players in their own right. There is a little bit of tension that is created for a lot of older players, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a healthy competition thing. It's letting people know that I'm still here. I still got teeth. I still can take a bite out of this situation as well. I love the conversation that Sue Bird had. I just felt like that was something that, you know, I understand what she was trying to get at, but it's okay to acknowledge like that Caitlyn had a target on her back. She clearly did.
Speaking of the targeting thing, maybe she was trying to say it's not malicious. It's just a part of the game, right? Like that's what I was saying when she brought up like her rookie moments, or other people have come out and said, okay, this is what I had to go through as a rookie, right? I'm a top pick in the draft. And I had to come in and show it. And that's across all sports. I don't think that it's malicious. I just think that maybe that's a part of the game. And I think that a lot of people who root for Caitlyn are very protective. You can be protective over her, but then don't be, now you're malicious against another player when they're just playing.
Yeah, there's a faction of people who are legitimate Caitlyn Clark fans who do that, right? But then there's a large swath of people who Caitlyn, for whatever reason, has galvanized, who are not necessarily Caitlyn fans or basketball fans, but fans of whiteness. And she represents the opportunity to preserve or even recreate the idea of what the white athlete is in predominantly black spaces. And so they have latched themselves onto her for a different reason than what she does on a basketball court. It's almost like she is a savior for many of them, in the idea that white people still are physically superior and or equal to the black athlete, and they have spun that conversation into something that I think is abhorrent and disgusting. And I think Caitlyn has done a good job of making statements when she decides to make statements, and telling people that that's not okay. I also do not feel like at 22 years old she should be charged and tasked with rectifying racism in this country. I think it's exhausting, and I think that you can see it at times in interviews. She's like, I really just want to play basketball. And I know that's a tough thing because she is in such an outspoken, world-changing league. But I think that for Caitlyn Clark specifically, man, like she just wants to hoop. And unfortunately, she's just been a lightning rod for a conversation that is so much bigger and so much more powerful than even her basketball performances are. So
yeah, and I don't want to bring up Kathy Engelbert, but I will say that Sue and Megan did shout out Terry Jackson because she's the one that is speaking out. She's the one that's making the statements that I think a lot of us want Kathy to say.
Yeah, but does it change anything? I want to know, does it change
anything? But it should come from her. You don't want it to come from Caitlyn, but I think it should come from up top.
I love a good performance, but ultimately I care about good results. So,
see.
Just saying.
You all let us know down in the comments, what did you think, or one, did you watch Sue Bird's podcast? If you didn't, please go check it out and let us know what you think down in the comments.